Well, family, welcome back to the Wreck the Roof series study. And here's what we've been doing. We've just been dialed in, asking God to help us see people the way he sees people. That's really what this is, right? To not only see them, but then to love them one at a time and to help them get far from him to his feet. And so I've loved this series, I really have, because if I'm being honest, looking at Jesus and the way he loved people has probably been one of the most transformative things in my life. Loving people like Jesus changes you. It lightens you. It purposes you. It fills you. But as you know, when it comes to loving people, sometimes loving y'all is easy, right? Like I have 5 boys and 1 sweet girl, and I just got to tell you, loving my Ava girl is the easiest thing on planet Earth. Sometimes loving people is easy. Sometimes loving people is hard. And so here's what I want to do today. Today, we're going to talk about how do we love people when it's just hard. I mean, I have a feeling you've already noticed that there are certain people that it's just hard to love. I mean, maybe it's because they're messy, maybe because it's just kind of complicated or they're needy, maybe they're mean or selfish or bossy or disrespectful. Some people are just hard to love. And some of you even have a long list of them, which by the way, if your list is really long of all the people that are hard to love, I just want to tell you, it might be you that's actually hard to love, but you figure that out. So here's what I know. Here's what most of us know. People are hard to love. Some people are hard to love. Here's the good news. Jesus has this unique ability to just meet us where we are in our capacity to love people. And he does. He just supernaturally gives us the ability to love beyond what we thought we were capable of. And I'm just telling you, he's done that for me. Some of you know what I'm talking about when I say loving and reaching people should still be really hard for me. I mean, some of us, our lives have not been rainbows and unicorns in our life stories. Would love to take us down the road of just self-care and boundaries. But for me, I just got to tell you, Jesus, over the last 3 decades of my life specifically, he just keeps meeting me at my limits of loving people and expanding the way that I see and love people that I literally don't have the capacity to love before I met him. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive in again into Mark chapter 1. We're going to dive into verse 40. And here's what we're going to see. We're going to see that a man with leprosy came and he knelt in front of Jesus, begging to be healed. And he just said to him, if you are willing, talking the man to Jesus, you can heal me and you can make me clean, he said. Moved with compassion, I love this. Moved with compassion, Jesus reached out and just touched him and he said, I'm willing. And he said, be healed. Instantly, the leprosy disappeared and the man was healed. So maybe you've heard this story before, and I think most of you know what leprosy is. Leprosy is a very, very complicated disease. As a matter of fact, even today, even with the best medicines, what it takes to cure somebody of leprosy is crazy. And leprosy at that time was the perfect scenario of someone who was untouchable. So a lot of you are like, man, I don't have anybody in my life that's a leper. So here's what I want to do for us today. I want you to recognize maybe some people in your life that have become the untouchables. So you know a person is untouchable if in your mind you see them immediately, you think to yourselves, I don't have time for this. Like somebody else that's not as busy is going to have to do this. And why is that? Because you tend to have time for the things that you value. And when you look at somebody and you instantly say, I don't have time for this, that's an untouchable person for you. If you say this, if you're like, man, there's just so many of those people. I mean, there's no way that we could take care of them all. That is an untouchable person. If you say, and literally, you wouldn't say it out loud, but you're like, well, they should have known better. I mean, it's probably their own fault. If you sit there and think, well, if I even step in right now, that's going to put me or it's going to put my family at risk, whether physically or reputationally. I can't be seen with this person. Again, it's all the internal dialogue that most of us, not all of us, most of us don't want to say outside. But an untouchable person is someone who's complicated and draining and costly. it's going to take a lot of effort, and it's going to take you going out of your comfort zone and crossing lines that you're pretty sure that you're not wanting to cross to help them. It might be that ex that hurts you. It might be that boss that treats you unfairly. It might be that racist, that chauvinistic person. Maybe it's the father that overlooked you. Maybe it's the dishonest cheat that just drives you crazy. Maybe it's your political rival. Maybe they just seem so old school in their values, or they're just too woke for you. Maybe it's that annoying classmate. Maybe it's a coworker. Maybe it's the one who hurt you or hurt someone you love. Maybe it's the addiction-prone relative, right? And maybe it's the emotionally complex and frail friend. Maybe it's a friend that's walking through a messy divorce right now. And you're just like, man, I see it. Man, I don't even know where to start with it. That feels untouchable. Maybe it's your kid's high school partying friend that you hate their influence on your family, your kids. Maybe it's a struggling minority in your community. I don't know. But here's what I know. We all have untouchable people in our lives. And for a lot of us over time, that list of who they are can just continue to grow. If I'm being honest right now, and I think you'd back me on this, like right now, today, I'm not sure I've ever seen such a long list of why we can't love people. So here's the deal. Grab one of those people, all right? Just pick any one of them, whichever one popped and you're like, oh yeah, that's me. I want you to pick any one of them from your list, and I just want you to see them begging to be healed, looking at you with eyes to say, if you're willing, you could help. If you were willing, you could help me get past this. You could make me clean. That's what this leper said. And so he just said, if you're willing, you know that you could help. You know you could bring a healing word. You know that you could bring a touch of a real relationship. You know, and I know you're not Jesus, but you know you could bring a prayer and faith. The question with unwilling or untouchable people is, are you willing? And I love what Jesus' response was to this man, right? This man that was on Jesus' current day untouchable list. He's just the kind of person that most people just wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. In verse 41, it's one of my favorite lines in this whole passage. It just says, verse 41, here's how Jesus responded. It says he was moved with compassion. Now, some of your translations say that he was indignant, and not to be nerdy, but it's just a bad translation. But it literally is like the splunk. It's a message talking about from the depths of his being, he just felt something very strongly. And we know from what he's about to do, it was this strong feeling of he just felt compassion for them. He could see what most of us don't see, that untouchable thing on the outside that most of us can walk past was really someone on their knees on the inside saying, I don't want to be here. I'm tired. I feel stuck here. Everyone else is walking by. And Jesus was moved with compassion. And Jesus in that moment, he just reached out and he touched him and he said, hey, I know everybody else walks by, but I'm willing. So today, as we wrap up this series, I think it's probably a good opportunity for us to say, yeah, it's great to say, let's get those these people that are close to me, that I already love, that I already have a relationship. We have a long list of people that I hear this all the time. They're like, man, they'd be a great Christian if they it's like, they're already kind of the people that are on your Christmas list, right? But who are the untouchables in your life? And can you look past the outside and into their souls and see them longing for healing, longing for restoration, longing for hope? I mean, how could we? I think about this all the time. How could we not only allow the compassion of Jesus to fill us? Like, I want that. But then for us to be able to say in a million different ways, to just say to people that everyone else is walking past, hey, I'm willing. I'm willing to stop. Hey, I'm willing to listen. I'm willing to give. I'm willing to sacrifice. I'm willing to take a hit. I don't really care what all these people think, I'll spend time with you. I'm willing to touch, to step into, and to get my hands dirty with some stuff that I don't even know how I'm gonna get on the other side. But here's the thing, I don't know how to, but I'm willing. I just feel like, family, when we get to that place where we just start to see the untouchables, the early church, the way that it exploded was not just by sharing Christ with all the people I already like. The gospel was fueled with a supernatural love for even enemies, for untouchable people. I want to be the kind of person. We want to be the kind of people who are willing to touch the untouchables.